This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield and his better half, Marnie Winfield.
I was given your number by the health care, so I was just wondering if you were interested to let me know and come at my door.
Man,
It is the 10th of August, 2021. It's like a month away from kickoff. NFL's back. Looking forward to that for sure. In the studio is not Marnie Winfield. It's my other better half, Justin Burke. Justin, how are you today?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing really well. Doing some things, selling some things, talking to some people about some things.
That's always good.
Trying to fix my computer.
That's a lost cause.
Yeah. It's not really trying to fix it. It's trying to upgrade it, which I would not recommend in early recovery. You have to gain the patience, which if you want to pray for patience, be my guest, but you have to wait.
Don't do that.
It's bad. But yeah, so I've gained all those skills along the way, and I can put them to the test with trying to upgrade a computer.
It does take patience.
A lot of breathing.
I recommend do not go to like Best Buy's Geek Squad though.
Wow, we're taking shots at Best Buy. You beefing?
No.
Why you beefing with Best Buy, man? What'd they do?
They sell you stuff that just don't work.
Well, the Geek Squad, they don't sell you anything. They just try to fix it, don't they?
Well, whatever. They recommend products.
And that is Justin Burke. His email is jb at Yahoo or something. So look him up if you want to talk about Geek Squad stuff. I do want to give, since we're doing public service announcements, I want to remind people that LG is not the same LG that you bought 10 years ago.
True that. There's a reason why they quit making cell phones this year.
And that all the cars that they had parts in got recalled from Chevy. And the TV that they sold me is a piece of crap. And they just pretty much were like, yeah, we know it's a piece of crap, but that's how we built it. And I said, well, just give me a new one. And I'm still inviting the president of LG to come to my house and watch a movie with me. And he can take the TV home with him. There's nothing I can do with it. I can't give it away. I can't sell it. If I sold it, it would just have somebody drive back to my house with it and go, I want my money back. This is broken. And I'm like, well, technically, LG said that's what it's supposed to do. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't watch it.
Just meet them in a Walmart parking lot. They'll never suspect a thing.
I'm better than that, man. I don't have to live that way anymore. So just a little public service announcement. There you go. That'll wrap up that segment of the podcast. Thank you. So, on the real though, you're doing well, and you just upgraded your wheels a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got to feel good.
It does. Feels really good.
So a year ago today, where were you?
Still in jail.
Nice. Not nice, but you had no idea you'd be sitting in the studio doing a podcast.
Not at all. I knew I was going to treatment a year ago today, but nothing like this.
You didn't know Corey Winfield was going to walk into your life.
No.
You're like, hey, who's that guy? It's Corey Winfield.
Like,
wow.
They talk about blessings and recovery. Like, it just never ceases to amaze me. You know, sometimes they come slow. Sometimes they come all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Just depends on how much you're willing to work for it to get to it.
Yeah, it's crazy, though, how it just keeps happening. And it used to be where I would, like, okay, any time now, it's going to all go to shit. But then I didn't drink, so nothing ever went to shit. And then good things just still kept happening and still kept happening. And I was talking to my therapist today. I was telling her that you were coming over to do a podcast. Susan was like, oh, well, that's good. Which I was waiting to hear, oh, I'll have to listen. But she didn't. she was like, "Oh, that's good," and you and I share the same therapist, so she knows who you are. And I was just like, "Yeah, he's coming over and he's doing good." I told her I sold you the car for an awesome number.
Yeah, it was great.
217, and I thought that was pretty cool, and that where you're at now is such a different place. And the fact that, which I don't know if you know, I mean, you probably are like, wow, okay, that's cool. Like that someone would trust you to like, oh, here, you can just pay me the rest later. Like when the hell was the last time that happened?
I don't know when.
It's been a minute.
It's been a long time.
It was like that for me. And the first, was it the stimulus that went out? And I knew I'd be getting it soon, but I needed the money. So I had to reach out and ask my mom for, like, hey, and she would make me drive to the gas station with her in the car to get out and put the debit card in to if I wanted some gas, if I needed to borrow money for gas. She wouldn't even give me gas money. Here you go. So, that's coming a long way. And then, so I'm sure like you probably were like, wow, that's cool too. Like,
yeah, it's just, just making the right steps in life really shows people the right thing. Especially when you say you're going to do something and you follow through with what you're going to say that you're going to do, really brings light to people's hearts when you actually follow through with goals that you make for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm actually finally out of sober living or recovery living.
Nice.
Got my own little spot with a guy I was in treatment with. When I seen him again, he was like, wow, you actually came and did something that you actually were going to do after treatment. And then next thing you know, he's offering to let me run his spare room just because he sees I'm doing the right things in life to be able to have things that I need and want in life.
It's inspiring for other people.
Yeah.
It truly is. And even though at the time you were making decisions based on the things that you wanted, but you didn't even realize how other people were watching, and those people that laughed at you and you're like, I'm going to come back, and because you actually work at the treatment center that you went to. And
yes,
how many people were like, oh yeah, okay, man, sure, buddy. And you're like, yeah, okay, well, you just keep laughing. You'll see. Probably
half the people I was in treatment with laughed, said, oh yeah, everyone says that. You're not going to follow through with anything that you do. It's just addict behavior 101, putting on this big front. And no, I went up to Nathan's house. Jason DeBeck actually instilled good values in me as far as being in recovery and what recovery looks like if you actually do the next right thing. And it's been blessings all the way. Even from going there to Unity, the guys at Unity House have been really nice, really awesome. They still want me to be a part of Unity. Right now they got 3 open beds.
And Unity is another sober living home in Traverse City.
Yep. And that's where I wanted to go to when I got out of treatment, and it just didn't play out. But everyone's always we know there's a hidden agenda in everything that we do. So, but anyways, went there, moved out after being there for like 4 months. But the guys just really like my projection of recovery, my thoughts on it, and can really tell when people's really screwing up real early, like the early signs of, oh, well, they're already fucking up and whatnot. And it's just real easy to tell with people that's been through it a bunch and seeing it, especially as somewhere like Nathan's house where you got close to 20 guys in one house. Mm-hmm. Like you can see through a lot of BS real quick.
Yeah, and people, it's funny because people think that they're getting away with it, and I was at that same house that you lived at before you were there, obviously, and Jason would just be like, don't worry about it. These guys are going to weed themselves out quicker than you could even imagine. And I was like, what? It's like, but I hate those people. Because there were some dudes in there that I just wasn't a big fan of, and I didn't mess with them. I didn't talk with them. I didn't converse with them, and soon, boom, they were gone. And they were never my problem. And then once I kind of figured that out and put that together, it was like, okay, well, what am I doing here? I'm here to work on myself. And I was there for 7 months, and it seemed like 200 years. It seemed like the longest period of my life ever.
Like the first 4 months for me flew by, but like the last 2 months, it's like I got to do something else. There's nothing to do really in Boyne. Nice, pretty area, but it isn't like Travers.
Right.
There isn't meetings everywhere. There isn't like NA or A down here. Like they're always doing something on the weekends, especially in the summertime.
Yeah, in Boyne City, they do have a place you can go for meetings, but if you don't have a car, you know, a lot of that is tough. And that's one thing that we used to do, because I had a car, was, you know, go to Charlevoix or the cities that are around there, East Jordan, Petoskey, you know, just to kind of mix it up, because going to the same meeting, and I'm sure some people are out there like, man, I go to the same meeting and I've been going for 10 years, you know, and that's cool. You know, that's your home group, that's your people. But it is fun to mix it up every once in a while. Like Marnie and I, we went to Grand Rapids this last weekend, went to a meeting there. It was a speaker meeting. It was pretty bad. It was bad. But, and I've never heard of a bad meeting, I've heard people say, but no, yeah, I mean, no, I don't know. Whatever.
Speaker meetings ain't really my thing.
I told Marnie, yeah, sometimes they can be, but yeah. And I told Marnie, well, I mean, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. We could have been out getting drunk. So it was way better than that. But then we went to a meeting in Coloma, my hometown, a group that I used to go to a lot. And I haven't been there in 2 years. And it was great to walk in, you know, and of course it was Corey time. So we're about 5 minutes late. And so they're like, oh, look, hey, Corey. Stop the meeting and like, hey, we're in Travers now, right? You know, and talk. So that was cool though. And it was just nice to kind of get away and go to a different meeting. And I think Marnie really likes it. I know when we were out in California, she loved it.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to be able to go out and spread your wings and see what other people are doing in recovery in different areas, because not every meeting's the same. They're all ran a little different. Just they all got their own little niche to them. Some people like it, some people don't.
I got to see the guy that told the Bolt story that really, at the time, it flew right over my head. When I left there, I was like, man, that dude, he hogged the meeting talking about that stupid Bolt. The hell, it had nothing to do with recovery. But then I put it together later that he's probably about 85, 90 years old, and he was using the meeting for what he needed that day. And if that was to complain or let off some steam about losing a bolt and then going to buy it only to come home to lose it again, then that's what he needed to do that day. And so I saw him and I was like, hey man, I take people to treatment, and I use your story about how I didn't first understand what you were doing. And it was, you know, a year or so later that it kind of hit me like, I don't have to do what the next guy's doing. The next guy's working the steps. He's on step 5. Oh, okay, good for him. If that's what keeps him sober, I don't have to do that. You know, but I like going to meetings. I need to use the meetings for what I need and get out of the meeting what I want out of it. And if that's to blow off steam, then it's to blow off steam. And who cares what other people think about me? Right. You know, when I leave there, I'll feel better.
That's one thing about like recovery and sober living. Like, you're required to go to meetings. You're required to do step work. And at first I enjoyed it because it really puts your mind in a different perspective a little bit. But once you've done it for a year, it's like a little monotonous sometimes. Like, you know, I know what I need to do to keep sober and stay sober. Sometimes I'll bust out my step working book just to put myself back in that place if I feel like I've started to become complacent a little bit. But I know that's what I need to do if I do become complacent, though. Where some people just, in early recovery, just like, well, I'm not going to do this. And you can see it real quick. They go way down that slippery slope real fast.
And there's a number of things I think that it helps with when you're in a sober living house and they're telling you, oh, you got to go to this many meetings. One is you're doing something that you don't always want to do. It's a commitment, you know, a commitment to turn your sheet in at the end of the week or whatever, going, this is how many meetings I got. You know, you can lie on there if you want, sure. good luck. If you're lying on your meeting sheet, then it's not going to be long. I mean, you think you're fooling the people, but you're not. You know, if you say you're doing something, do it. And if you said you did something, then you better have done it, you know, and it's just that accountability to yourself. And then it just becomes, like it was for me, a place where I went to let off steam. So when I get frustrated, I need to go to a meeting, pops in my head before I need to go to the store and buy a bottle. And I didn't realize at the time that it was retraining my brain, because every time I would let off steam in those meetings, or sometimes we would just clown around and have fun. But whenever I would get in those feelings again, it would just take me away. And I didn't even realize it at the time, but I was retraining my brain to feel this sense of relief. You know, when I left those meetings, I was relieved. My brain it was off my chest. You know, it was good to go. And your brain's taking notes, you know, like that's how my brain takes notes. And sometimes it does this.
Yeah, you know, retraining the brain's a difficult process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, still, I had 19 months clean yesterday, and still, there's still times that are, you know, I have a bad day or something where I think, oh, well, this could fix it. But then I'm quick to realize that ain't going to do nothing besides or just make it worse.
Mm.
And knowing that realization of that really grounds me into knowing that it ain't going to do no good.
Well, if you want to, like, cough or pay for the jail or something, then it might do somebody good, but it's not going to do you any good.
No.
Yeah. And I was talking to this kid. I have been talking to this kid for a while. His mom reached out and was like, hey, will you talk to him and kind of help him? And the first time I talked to him, he was just like, yeah, man. And it was the same thing that I did, you know, it was, except I didn't have an ex-wife, but it was, the ex-wife and this and that. And it was everybody else's fault. So I got to gauge the situation of, okay, that's where he's at. Nothing's his fault. It's everybody else's fault. And then his first attempt at treatment, well, I'm gonna go up north and go to treatment. And he's from downstate in Michigan. And then it was, I'm staying with a family friend. Huh? I thought you were going to treatment. And then it was, I don't like that guy. He drinks too much. Well, I thought the whole plan was you go to treatment. Like, well, I'm just going to get a job. And once I get some money, I'm like, okay, he's at that stage. And then it went on kind of like that. And it's just like, all right, I don't need treatment. And then he ends up going to some treatment center in Ohio. And it was around Easter. And he decided he'd had enough. He was going to leave. So we're like, all right, buddy, there's the front door, you know. So he leaves. And they realize ain't nobody's coming to get his ass. Like, he's burned his bridges. So he tries to get back in. And they're like, no.
Yeah, you just left.
It's the weekend, bro. We don't do intakes on the weekend. Sounds familiar. And it's like, okay. So, like, they were calling me. And I'm like, is there, like, a tent you can go by or something? Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, that's tough, you know, and those are the moments that he had to be set in. But and then I talked to him one other time too, and he had said, well, he's not smoking meth anymore. But he had to let me go because he was going to go do some acid.
That's horrible.
I was like, bro, like, like you gotta reel it in. But then, you know, I was like, all right, I'm not gonna really mess with it too much. Well, and I got a call. Hey, he's in jail, and I was like, and like. I felt relief. And I don't know if I felt relief. His mom felt relief. So I asked her, I'm like, you feel relieved, don't you? And she's like, yeah, actually I do.
At least he's getting 3 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a safe place to be in. And
so he's been there for 2 months. I was like, at least you know where he was the last 60 days. You know, like, that's pretty cool. And she's like, and even talking to him, it sounds like a completely different person.
Oh, I'm sure.
So he's not smoking weed even, you know. And he was one of those that, I'm always smoking weed till I die, you know. And I was like, that's not really always the best way for people who are addicted to things, because we use things that make us feel good to hide the bad things, whether it be ice cream or weed or beer. You know, it's legal, man. Yeah, so it's alcohol. You want to see what happens if I go drink?
Yeah.
No, no, it doesn't make it okay.
Horrible.
You know, and it's just like, come on, man, get it together. what kind of life do you want? And now if people smoke weed, they got back problems, stuff like that, sure. But there's other ways you can get the THC even. You know, if you're just smoking weed to get high, to get blitzed, to hide from problems, good luck. Because weed's addictive too. Run out, see what happens.
Oh, I know.
You get mad as hell.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Doing some stuff, hanging out with people you would never hang out with just to get high.
Just go smoke a joint.
Yep. I did it. You've done it. And we've all done it. And people can, I've never had to do that. Shut up. You know, like, what do you own, a dispensary or something? Just come on, just stop.
And then they say, like, it helps with depression and helps cures anxiety. And I'm like, it does nothing of that fact. Your brain tricks you into believing it does. But in reality, it makes it worse. Because as soon as you take it away again, your shit just goes through the roof. And you're worse off than what you were when you started it.
Right. And again, why do we need it?
We don't.
Why? Because our brain's tricking us. Oh, but I need to get high, man. I need it. I just want to feel relaxed, man. I want to watch this movie and munch out. Do what you need to do. But I'm just saying, I can't do it. And yeah, it's definitely not the worst thing someone could do, but definitely not something I would be like, hey, I think you should just smoke pot instead. But then you get the people that are like, harm reduction, bro. They're not shooting up anymore. They're smoking weed. For now.
Yeah, for now.
You know, let's see how that plays out.
Next thing you know, their joints being laced with something.
And that had happened to me once too, and I was like, holy mother of God. Like, that's not what I wanted to do today.
No.
And yeah, you end up in some situations, you know, for sure. And I don't have to live that way anymore. And when you start putting it together and you realize that life's pretty damn good, you know, not every moment is rainbows and unicorns or anything, but.
You know, one thing that I've learned about recovery is having to apologize without apologizing or saying I'm sorry. Like, when you go to, like, make amends with someone and you go, like, you want to say I'm sorry, but they've already heard it so much that it's hard to think of ways to tell them that you're actually sorry and actually being sincere about it at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like, we were talking earlier today about my ex-wife. Me started talking a little bit, and she's like, you know, I understand I was a royal bee and stuff. I probably wasn't the nicest person. I'm like, well, it's just not you, though. I had a lot to deal with that, though, too, being an addict that you just didn't know. It's hard to tell someone that you're sorry for trashing their life. In reality, you are. Those are the words you want to say, but you have to think of something else to say. Like, because I'm sorry just don't work anymore.
Right.
And by talking to her for a while last night, like, she started breaking down crying because she was like, you've never given us an actual opportunity to ever make our marriage work, that you just up and left. And this year would have marked our 5-year anniversary, you know, back in July 15th. But it is what it is. And we both realize that, and we just move on as people, but we both feel horrible for our decisions. I feel horrible getting married during active addiction and hiding it so well that no one knew what I was doing.
Was that easy or was that hard? Mentally and physically? Like, were you like...
At the time, I mean, it was easy at first because she didn't know any habits for any routines. But then it got to be harder and harder and harder. And finally, one day she went to work and I just bounced. Packed up everything and left.
Damn.
Left my wedding ring on the table and just left.
Cold-blooded.
A little bit. But, I mean, I went to go check myself in to the mental hospital. First day ever there. And I got out of there and went back home to Baldwin, and it wasn't shortly after that. That was introduced into meth, and it was just spiraled out of control, even ruined more people's lives. And
So you went to the mental hospital before you did meth.
yep,
What was your drug of choice then? You said you were using just pills?
coke,
Upper guy.
stimulants,
Yeah.
yep, Adderall, Vyvanse, Serta.
Okay. So then you got introduced to meth, and you're just like, whoa, that was a whole different.
Whole different deal.
And that really got you crazy. And then you ended up getting busted. How did you get busted? How did you end up in jail?
Because I parked my car in front of a house that I allegedly broke into the shed, and left my car parked there, walked over to my girlfriend's house at the time, and fell asleep for 2 days. Because I'd been up for I don't know how many days at that point, and passed out for like 2 days to get woke up to the cops knocking on the door. Like, we know you're in there. Why don't you come on out? Nowhere to go.
Did you feel any sense of relief?
At that point in time, somewhat, but not really, because when they let me out, I was like, now I have to figure out how to keep using without going back to jail. It wasn't until I got caught after I jumped bond and everything in January that I actually got, when I was locked in there, that I knew I was actually going to get, hopefully, help. But I didn't really know how to do it. I think COVID hit. That was horrible. But
Yeah, it was horrible. I wasn't laughing.
But it wasn't until about August last year I knew I was actually for surely going to get help. And I was even hoping then I was still going to get help, because they're talking about locking everything down even more. And I was just like, never knew what I was going to get. So, like, we still don't. But help's available if you want it.
It
Depends
is.
on how much you want to work for it to get it.
So when you were in jail and you were like, it was like people like walking around going, hey man, you can get out of here and go to treatment instead. And then you were like, hey, that sounds like a good idea. Or was it your lawyer that came to you? Was it your
My PO
cousin?
pretty much told me I had to figure out something to do, because he wasn't going to release me to anybody, like, in my family. Because my mom and my brother were both out of probation. And he said, well, I'm not releasing you to either one of them. So you have to figure out something, and you have like 30 days to figure it out.
Because that's the woman I spoke with today. She said pretty much the same thing. She said it's up to her to figure it out. And then I, of course, gave her Kate's number. Kate is in charge, I believe, of the Hope Not Handcuffs program in Northern Michigan. So I was like, here, call Kate. Kate can hook you up. Because I know Kate, in the Hope Not Handcuffs program, they deal a lot with people that are in jail. Obviously, with the Hope Not Handcuffs, and to get people into treatment centers. So that's a resource that people can definitely use if you have someone that is, in jail, and you're like, all they're doing is making more connections in there. Like, they're not fixing their problem.
No, and, like, another thing, when I was sitting there waiting for my car to get fixed today, my PO called me and asked me what I've been doing and how everything's been going. I said, doing really well. I was like, becoming a part of 217, giving rides for Hope's Not Handcuffs, like getting people to and from treatment. And she was like, what's Hope's Not Handcuffs? I'm like, how are you a PO and you really don't know about programs out there to help addicts, and so that way you guys don't have to keep locking them up? And it was kind of disheartening that she didn't even know nothing about it.
Well, a lot of them, it's not really their job, and it's not in every area yet. Like the woman I spoke to today, they don't have it, to my knowledge, in Southwest Michigan, or where she's at, because I asked her if she ever heard of it, and she said no. But again, just because it's out there too doesn't mean that people have heard of it. And that's kind of our job on the podcast. Kind of talk about it too, and maybe I should do a better job. But, when people do reach out, I hope not handcuffs. If you don't know where to go or what to do, don't start Googling treatment centers. It's going to be a waste of your time.
That's horrible.
You can call your insurance company. If you have insurance, you can call them, kind of figure that out. If you have like private insurance, I definitely would do that. But if you don't, you're on Medicaid or something, or if you're like, I don't have insurance, reach out. Hope not handcuffs. If you need the number, I can hook it up. So reach out to me even, and I'll send you Kate's number, and you can be on your way, and she'll put it together for you.
Yeah, and most places where they don't have Hope's Not Handcuffs, so they also have like the Angel program though too.
Mm-hmm. That I'm iffy of, and I guess the Hope Not Handcuffs program. I heard one when I was on a board, and they had this guy from Gaylord. Notice I didn't say Gaylord because it's not spelled Gaylord. Is a police officer from there, and he was like, yeah, well, and he said that they don't. He's like, well, if you come in, we'll get you help if you need it. But if we know you and we know that you have a record, we'll run your stuff. And if you have a warrant, then we'll take you to jail. And I was like, see, that's the stuff that has to kind of stop. Like, they can deal with that stuff later.
Yeah.
But instead, that's what they do. So, and that was coming from a dude who said that they participate in the Hope Not Handcuffs program. But I'll have Kate Curran, and she can explain that to me, because I don't want to say like for a fact. But I know the Angel program with the Michigan State Police, that they will run your stuff. If you owe child support, if you do it, that's not, nope, they're going to take you to jail first, which doesn't help. Like, say, because there was a woman, I've talked about on the podcast a while ago, she reached out, wanted help, and I was like, hey, the Angel program. She's like, no, I think they'll take me to jail. I called the state police and say, hey, look, there's this woman, she thinks she owes in child support. Well, she's like, oh, look, yep, she does. She has a warrant. She will be taken to jail if she comes in to turn herself in. I was like, well, she doesn't want to turn, she wants to go to treatment. Yeah, she comes in here, she's going to jail. I'm like, but that's going to put her more behind on her child support. Like, you're not going to like draw blood out of her until she's like paid up, Nope. I mean, they're not, if they're going to do that, okay, that's one thing. Hey, draw as much blood as you want, to make me even. But they don't. They just throw you in there and they charge you more money. So how is that helping the kids?
It's not.
I get it. There's got to be some consequences if you don't pay your child support. I get it. But if you're an addict and you're okay, first of all, the addict part is why she's not, being the best mother she can be, and that can change.
But I know, like for me though, I mean, like after I got out of treatment and stuff, like I called where I got in front of the court through, and they were actually happy I went to treatment to get myself help, to put myself back on the right track. So I mean, like if you do have a child support warrant and you're worried about going to treatment, contact your caseworker and say, hey, I'm really in a bad spot. I want to go to treatment. Is there any way if I go to treatment that you guys are willing to work with me on my warrant and stuff like that? 9 times out of 10, they're going to help.
And not just because you go to treatment. When you go to treatment, no one's going to arrest you. I'm just saying if you turn yourself into the Angel program, if you walk into the police department and say, hey, I want to go to treatment, and like the guy in Gaylord said, if we know them, we're going to run them. And if they got a warrant, they're going to jail. Like, put the brakes on that. You don't even have to go to a police station. You don't have to go. You can just call Kate, and the police aren't involved. But I did have one guy tell me, he's like, no, the police came over to check on me afterward. But I don't know what he had told them. I think he might have been
suicidal, maybe?
Yeah. So I was like, I know that they would do that if that happened. He's like, no. But when you're drinking and you're that drunk, it's hard to remember what you said and what you didn't say.
Everything becomes a blur.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, I'll talk to Kate. I'll set that up. Maybe I'll have her on. Well, it won't be Thursday. Maybe next week I'll have Kate on, and she can explain the Hope Not Handcuffs program.
There we go.
Because we do transportation for them when they call us. We pick people, like I said, and we take them to treatment. We take them home from treatment. But if you're looking if you know someone who's looking, Hope Not Handcuffs is a good program. You can call them and just say, hey, look, we're looking to get into treatment. Here's what's been going on, and they will help you out.
Or Families Against Narcotics.
Mm-hmm. They're the ones who have Hope Not Handcuffs. So yeah, it's their program. So yeah, you can call them, which would be the same number. But it's better than nothing. And like I said, to my knowledge, the cops don't have to be involved, and they will set it all up for you. Now, if you're like, oh, I want to go to Sunrise in Alpena, just throwing it out there, and you're like, oh, you call them or you call your Medicaid and they hook it all up, and then, okay, cool. And you just need a ride there and you call Hope Night Handcuffs. It doesn't work that way. They're not like a taxi service. They're like, yeah, let's get you booked in there. It's a process that they have to do from start to finish. You know, they have to hook you up with the resources. It's part of like what they do in their contract of everything. It's like, hey, this is how they got funding. Again, this is just speculation. You know, it sounds good though, but I'm pretty sure that that's how it works. And Kate did say something like that before. Like, it's got to be a start to finish. Like, you can't already have your stuff lined up and then just call and say, hey, we need a ride.
Right, because most of the time your insurance company will give you a bus ticket to go there.
Oh, my God, don't get me started.
Which we know how well that ends. You know, you might have to walk 30 miles to even get to your bus stop. Mm-hmm. That's horrible.
Yeah, and those people think, they can't really think they're doing their job.
They're not. Like,
I mean, they have to know they're half-assing it, right? I mean, they can't just, or do they really, are they that misguided? They think, you know what, we're really helping people with this bus ticket.
I think they should ride the bus to find out what people really have to go through.
Yeah, you mean the people that are sending these people?
Yeah.
People like us on these buses.
And dress in rags. Mm-hmm. Because most addicts, when you go to treatment, all you got is a few clothes.
Yeah, wear your best treatment clothes. Or we'll dress you up. We'll bring it to you if you want to. And we should make a movie about this.
We should. I think it'd be awesome.
I know a couple people I'd like to send.
I can name a few.
Yeah, like, hey, be like, is this going to be a comedy? Like, oh no, yes, it will be. It's a drama comedy.
Yeah.
Drom-com.
Maybe with the tears were too shedded.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but it will be funny for some of us. For some of us, it will be hilarious. But no, because the situations that you can find yourself in the snap of a finger, it's insane. You answer the wrong question to the wrong guy or the wrong woman. You know, someone comes up to you and they see you're over there struggling. You know, it's not hard to spot us.
No,
especially when we're withdrawing and trying to ride a bus somewhere. People know what's going on, man, and some people out there sell certain things that are legal that can make this person feel better for a minute. What do you think's going to happen? And then what? They don't have no money. Oh, I know how you can make that up. Come over here for a minute. Then next thing you know, regret, shame, just all kinds of. And sometimes they're pulled over there. You know, like it's not some of the best situations you can be put in. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, or they do and just don't care. I don't really know. That's what I'm saying. Do these people really know what they're doing when they're like, yeah, you get a bus ticket, everything will be fine. I know what's best.
Everything will be fine.
Yeah, not so much. But
and most of the time when people actually go to treatment, you don't have family or friends,
right,
to give you rides.
No, my mom
because
was
you've
done.
already burnt so many bridges.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a guy the other day I met, and his parents would not help him at all. But they did tell him one thing: well, if you can find detox or a treatment center to take you, we'll be more than willingly to transport you there, so that way we know you get there safe. And that was good. I mean, great, actually. And he thought it was the worst thing in the world because they didn't invite him to come back home. I'm like, they're offering you help to go to treatment, and they're no good because you just can't continue to use and move back into their house. This isn't how life works. When you're an addict, people are tired of us. Mm-hmm. You have to put forth the effort to do it.
Yeah, and there's a way that if you want to help us out, because, okay, look at it like this. Would you want your son, your daughter, your cousin, your mom, your dad, would you want them just given a bus ticket? And some people say, well, no, they should take them themselves then. Yeah. I believe I've talked my mom out of taking me to a place once. I know I've talked to another friend out of taking me once. Like, we were on the way and I'm like, nah, let's not. Let's just turn around. Because it's addiction because I wanted more alcohol. I didn't want to stop drinking. So we're pretty persuasive, and oh no, I'm telling you, I promise this, I'm not even going to drink anymore. Like, that's all lies, and that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of conversation that goes on. Now, let's just say you put them on a bus, good luck. That's pretty much what you're saying. Would you rather a recovery coach drive them where they're talking about, hey man, don't hang your head. This can be you one day. Like, this is first day of your future, like, let's put this together, and not really offering advice, but listening. And, right. A lot of times they ask for, what would you do? And I'm like, I don't really know. Here's what worked best for me, and try this and be careful of this. And, in some of the treatment places I've been, so I know kind of what goes on. So that kind of helps them prepare. So you tell me, how would you rather someone that you love go to treatment?
By getting a ride by someone who's...
But it's $40 more than the bus.
Pay the $40.
Yeah.
I mean,
See,
there's enough money.
Getting paid.
There's enough money that just gets tossed around in reality in between the Medicare system, the treatment centers, that $40 is frivolous when it comes to saving someone's life, and that's really what they're there to do, and they preach that they're there to do. But when it's all said and done, they just throw them back out to the wolves.
And if people in Michigan actually could just follow along for a minute where their dollars are going, they would lose their mind. They would be so pissed off that these places are taking the money from the state to spend on people, but yet they're half-assing it, which ends up in turn those people. And again, not everybody that gets a safe ride from Recovery Coach is going to be sober the rest of their life. That's not what we're saying, but they're learning on the way.
Right. Well, at least they got that safe ride from treatment to home, to their front door, or to their recovery house.
Yeah.
They were taken door to door, maybe stopped to use the bathroom along the way, but that's it. We're not stopping by Joe Smo's house to, he owes me $5. I need to get that $5 before I go.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that because we know right where that's going to lead.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those situations that you can look at the basic facts of it, and then to just ask, as Michigan, a taxpayer, just ask, like, how much money was raised from the liquor tax? Where did it go? I want to see numbers. It's like the lotto, the liquor tax, the tobacco tax, the marijuana tax.
I was just about to say,
our schools should be bomb ass. Our roads should be paved with gold. Like, where's it at? Where's it going?
Well, look at Colorado. I mean, they took their whole marijuana industry and really put it back into their state, though.
Where's ours?
Nowhere.
Where's it at? It's somewhere.
I'm
going to ask my mom's governor where it's at. I'm going to ask her and be like, hey, before you leave, how about you tell us where that money's at? Somebody's got to be accountable for it, right? Like, can you show me where it's going? And then I'll talk on the podcast and tell people exactly where you say it's going. But I want to make sure it's going there, because right now, I don't know. I could probably Google it, but who knows what that's... I want to see it from the government.
Right. Black and white.
And while we're looking this stuff up, why don't you go to 217recovery.com and then go to resources, go to that page if you want to do us a favor. I would really appreciate it. So would Justin, and so would the future generation of people who need help. Go to the Michigan PIHP list and just read that, and then do what you feel. But I'd appreciate it. But we got to go. We have a meeting. We have a fantasy football draft to do.
Yes, we do.
So, as my therapist said, I have to do things for myself now and not always help other people.
Later.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the 217 Recovery Podcast. Listen on the 217 Recovery app. Download the app and rate us in your app store.